Hello, this is Spartan Commander, and this is the 110th Rome Total War Brotherhood game that I've put onto YouTube. And what a cracking battle I've got for you today. And what you'll see, this is fought on one of our custom maps. This is called Brennan's Rock. Okay, it's Brennan's Rock map. I just wanted to show you that Team 2, if they want to, have got a very nice defensive position to form up on if they want here on this higher ground. And if you try to assault the hill, from this direction, you can see it's very steep if you want to attack up from that direction. And just to say, it's a more gradual hill from the other direction there. And on this map, of course, you've got the big open plains if you want to fight out in the open. But I must say, this map has got a lot of undulating ground on. So tactical ground movement would be very important on this particular map. And as I say, this is one of our popular custom maps, and I've got a cracking battle for you to watch. Okay, our first teammate is Brotherhood member Aurealius. Now, he's got 12 Spartans, 3 pelotes, and 4 cavalry. And of course, this is Aurelius's faction of choice. And you have a look at his pelotes there. He's got 8 upgrades on them, 2 experience stripes, gold shield, gold attack. And these guys can throw missiles. You don't see pelotests use that much, but he's got them there with really good upgrades on, and as I say, they can throw those spears into enemy troops. He always brings a fast moving light cavalry unit there, which he's got there as well, and you can see he's got 8 upgrades on them, 2 experience stripes, gold shield, gold attack on them as well. So make no mistake, that's a tried and tested Greek cities army, and as I say, Greek cities is Aurelius' faction of choice. Okay, our next teammate is Brotherhood member Fesen, who is experimenting with a Scythian army here. Now, he's got 7 infantry, 10 cavalry and 2 dogs. If you notice here, he's got fully upgraded infantry, 3 experience stripes, gold shield, gold attack. But the reason we now give Scythia a 10 cavalry max instead of the old 6 is because their infantry is so poor. Even though these guys have been maximum upgraded, you'll find that they're still, they just don't perform on the 31k battlefield, no matter what upgrades you put on. And there's a close-up of them if you haven't seen them before. They haven't even got effective against armor axes. They haven't even got that. So their infantry is so poor, as I say, that's why we give Scythia a 10 cavalry max. Once again, here's one of the girls. As I say before, you know, when you hear the word maiden, you think innocent, quiet, you know, a bit backward maybe like. But that ain't these girls. These are the deadly ladies of Rome Total War. Make no mistake about that. Okay, they carry those effective against armor axes, as we've talked about before in the past. And cavalry versus cavalry, these are probably the best cavalry in the game. They're not very good against infantry, I'll tell you that, even with the effective against armor axes. But as I say, cavalry versus cavalry, probably the best cavalry in the game. And then he's bought warhounds as well. Now remember, the warhounds bring a small fear factor as well to the battlefield. So, as I say, this is an experimental Scythian army for Fesen. Be interesting to see how well he does with them. Our next teammate is someone who's called himself Sigarux, but is in fact Brotherhood member of Royer. Now, he's got 14 Pharaoh Guard spearmen and 6 chariots. And I've noticed this is fast becoming his faction of choice, Egypt, even though it's not on a desert map. You'll see that he's got 8 upgrades on his Pharaoh Guard spearmen there, 2 experience stripes, gold shield, gold attack. Now, he's got his chariots here with their hit points. Their big attacking specifications, the big fear factor they bring, but these chariots don't run amok. Okay, so when they rout, they leave the battlefield like any other unit. Okay, so that's a big plus for the Egyptian chariots. They might not have quite the same specifications as other chariots in the game, but they don't run amok. So, as I say, and Egypt is fast becoming a Royer's faction of choice. And our last teammate is myself, Spartan Commander, who's also got a Greek cities army of just 13 Spartans. Okay, so that's my army. Let's say unusual to see 2 Greek cities armies in a team, so it'd be interesting to see how well we do with them. And of course, we've got Scythia with Fesen and Egypt with Royer. Got the potential to be a great battle. I hope you enjoy it. And here is the other team. We've got someone who's called himself Gaul only, but is in fact Brotherhood member TR with his faction of choice, of course, Gaul. He's got 17 chosen swordsmen, 1 druid unit, and 1 warband spear unit there. Okay, remember the warband spear unit with those spears will be anti-cavalry, and this is of course TR's faction of choice. He only plays with Gaul there, and as I say, that's why he's called himself Gaul only, and as I say, got very good with them. Their next teammate is RTW player Iberus Touro. Now he's got 16 Sacred Band Spearmen with good upgrades on there. Okay, like the old-fashioned, old-school battle formation there. Not quite the block formation, but still quite old school there. Their next teammate is RTW player Barclayman. Now he's got 18 pikes and 2 chariots. Okay, and this is his faction of choice. Pontus is now Barclayman's faction of choice. He's got very good with them. Quick look at the upgrades on his pikes there. If you count them up, I think his whole army has got 8 upgrades on, 2 experience stripes, gold shield, gold attack. And I just wanted you to look at the length of the Pontus pikes there. And our men have got to try and fight down the length of those pikes to kill the man on the other end. And that is quite a tall order there. And as I say, if you look through his battle formation there, you'll see 8 upgrades. Plus, he's got 2 chariots as well. So it'll be interesting to see how well he does with his faction of choice. And their last teammate is Brotherhood member Vicox. Okay, now Vicox, get ready for this, has got 20 pike units. Yes, 20 pike units. But if you check the upgrades, you'll see that a large proportion of his army have only got 6 upgrades on. Gold shield, gold attack. Okay, now we know the optimum upgrades for Macedonian Royal Pikemen are 8 upgrades, 2 experience stripes, gold shield, gold attack. So they're very low upgrades on that particular army. But his A army here, you'll see he's put more upgrades on. You'll see that some of his troops have got 7 upgrades on and experience stripes, gold shield, gold attack. But the back row of this particular army here have got 8 upgrades on, the optimum upgrades for Royal pikeman, Macedonian Royal pikeman there. So I think in general he's gone for quantity over quality. 20 pike units there, and as I say, it is really, I mean, I know he's got some units there with the optimum upgrades on, but really I think it's quantity over quality there. So there you are, you've got Gaul with TR, you've got Carthage with Touro, you've got Barclayman with Pontus, and you've got Vicox with Macedon. Notice no Rome. This is a no Rome battle. Just before the battle started, I just wanted to explain that we've got so many 121 man units here, plus other spear factions as well, that some people's computers find it difficult to run RTW smoothly with all these pikes and spears. So to start off with, there is a little bit of lag in this battle. I hope it doesn't spoil the entertainment too much for you, but as I say, some people's computers do find it difficult to run RTW smoothly with so many pike and spear units. Okay, at this early stage of the battle, I'm on the left flank, and the team has decided that we're going to fight over on the right flank. So this is one of our custom maps where once again I've got to run from one flank to the other to get over to that right flank where the team has decided we're going to, as I say, form up. Okay, let's just pause the game for a second here. So just like to show you a nice bit of cover here by Royer. He's just protecting my troops as I'm running over to the other flank, just making sure there's no lightning cavalry or chariot attacks on my moving troops. Remember, you can suffer a lot of casualties if your troops get hit while they're moving. So as I say, nice bit of cover there by Royer with his Egyptian troops. I'd just like to show you TR here with his Gaul army. If you notice here, he's moving over to the other flank as well, moving up on. In fact, he may well set up on that that higher ground there with his Gaul army. Be interesting to see what he's going to do there. But as I say, he's moving over, like looks like he's moving over towards the other flank. But as I say, he might set up on the higher ground. And here you'll see that Touro took his Carthaginian army forward. He would love to fight those Scythian axemen because he knows he'd kill them quite quickly. So that's why he's moved his Carthaginians forward. I think that's like a little bit of bait. He's hoping that the Scythian general will send those axemen in. So that's why I think he's moved forward like that. You'll see here that the Macedonian and Pontus armies here seem to be moving over a little bit more central. Here And as I say, here I'm running as fast as I can to get over to the right flank there. Of course, by the time I get over there, I will have to have a little break to rest my troops. And here you can see the Egyptian long line battle formation that Royer's done. As I say, this is an unusual battle. No Roman factions at all. We never said no Rome. You know, it was just all the factions that you see here is just what people decided to bring. So, as I say, very, very unusual in our battles to have no Rome faction in it at all. So that's another reason I want to show this battle, as it's very, very rare. As a lot of you know that play Rome Total War, that join our games, Rome, you know, is usually in the mix, but not this time. Okay, over here you'll see that Royer has got his Egyptian chariots there. Maybe he may well move them round that left flank round towards the enemy. Depends on where I think TR sets up his Gaul army. Right, once again here, can you see Touro there taking his Carthaginians forward, saying to those Scythian axemen, come on, hit me. You know, he's kind of like trying to bait the Scythian general there to try and get him to attack with those axemen. But hopefully Fesen, I know it's an experimental army with Fesen, might be the first time he's bought Scythia, but I don't think he'll fall for that. Here you can see the Pontus general bringing his pikes over to face the Egyptian spearmen. Okay, but as I say, Touro there would love to see those Scythian axemen come towards him. You'll notice here that Aurealius is slowly moving his army round to the right. Okay, now you'll see why a little bit later on in the battle, and you'll notice that I'm moving my Greek cities army more over to the right as well. Okay, but there is a tactical thought in mind here that you will see a little bit later on in the battle. Okay, right, just pause the game for a second here. Okay, so over here you'll see that TR is bringing his Gaulish army down from top of the hill. I thought he might have formed up on the top of the hill there, but he's obviously moving him down, moving his army down there to team up with his teammates there. Okay, that's what he looks like he's going to do with his Gaulish army. And over here, as I say, it'll be interesting to see what Touro's going to do with that Carthage army, whether he's going to advance any further. If you notice there, I've brought my Greek cities army over to back up my my Scythian ally, just in case the Carthage general does decide to attack. Okay, but just to give you a heads up on this, you'll see that both Aurealius and myself will be moving very tactically around the right as the battle develops. Okay. And over here you'll see this is a nice tactical move here by Royer, getting his fast moving fear-inducing chariots in behind the enemy team there as well. Nice tactical move there. That's one thing about chariots, very fast moving, and you can move them around the battlefield, you know, just when you need them with the speed that they've got. And that's exactly what Royer is doing there. Okay. So as I say, you can see both teams forming up at the moment, and as I say, this has got the potential to be an absolutely cracking battle, and I hope you're going to enjoy it. Okay, at this stage of the battle, you'll see that Barclayman is sending in one of his Pontus chariots to attack the Scythian axemen there. Be interested to see how effective the chariot hit is. And there's a chariot there going to smash into it. Get ready for this. And bang! As it smashes into those Scythian axemen there. Oh my gosh, very, very aggressive move there by Barclayman there with that chariot unit. What he was hoping was probably that chariot unit would run amok. We know that chariots in amok mode seem to be more powerful, and that's why I think he charged that headlong into those Scythian axemen in the hope that they would that chariot unit would run amok and maybe start killing even more of the Scythians. It wouldn't surprise me if the chariot turned, and there you are, chariots turned onto those dogs there, the warhounds. And if you notice there, you'll see that the chariot's scythes there really cut down those warhounds. And now it wouldn't surprise me if he charged that chariot unit into the Scythian axemen again. There, trying to cause as many casualties as he can. And as I say, I think in the back of his mind he'd like that chariot to run amok as well, As I say, more power. It seems to be more powerful in a muck mode, possibly do more damage there. Okay, so let's just pause the game for a second here. So as I say, it looks like he's going to smash into the back of the Scythian axeman. Now, this is an interesting tactic that Royer's done with 3 of his fully upgraded or 8 upgraded Egyptian units there. You see he's run them up the hill there, and he's actually placed 3 of his Egyptian units there, right on the crest of the hill. Now, I don't know whether he might have thought about bringing his whole army up there, but he's only brought 3 up, and I got a feeling that the enemy will quash those 3 pretty quickly there. But meanwhile, back to the chariot unit here that is really being a real nuisance to the Scythian general. There it goes, and bang! As it smashes into those Scythian axemen yet again. There you can see there's still some warhounds there attacking the chariot unit, but just look at the damage that one chariot is causing those Scythian axemen there. I mean, oh my gosh, that's really causing a lot, and it's not even routed yet. That chariot unit's still killing. Now look, it hasn't even routed or run amok, and of course Barclayman will be loving this with his chariot unit here, not run amok yet. And he can just control it and kill as many enemy troops as he wants. I think he's just caused a lot of casualties in those Pell tests as well there, because going back in again, bang, into those Scythian axemen again, and still the chariot's still going. Oh my gosh. He looks like he's going to turn again. It wouldn't surprise me if he turned again and went into the axemen again once again, look. And bang, as he smashes back into them again. I mean, that chariot unit there, make no mistake, is causing those Scythian axemen. Finally, the chariot is routed, but it's caused so many casualties there to the Scythian axemen. Make no mistake about that there. So that one chariot there, look at the casualties that it's caused. Starting off over here, look. You can see there are only a few axemen there, but still killed them. And then as we move over here, you'll see all these chosen axemen here, all of them here, all killed by that one chariot unit. So it just goes to show the devastating kill power that chariot's got there on these Scythian axemen. So I just thought you might find that interesting to see what one chariot can do there. And I don't think it's got big upgrades, and I don't think Barclayman puts big upgrades on, maybe just gold attack. I think that's all he puts on it, and that's the damage that one chariot unit has caused. So there, I should imagine Fesen would not be very happy to see all those axemen killed in his Scythian army. And as we said over here, those 3 Egyptian spearmen that Royer put up on top of the hill have now all been taken out by the Gaul and Macedonian troops there, which I thought they would do there. I don't know whether Royer might have thought about putting his whole army up there, up on the high ground, but maybe it's a good job that he didn't, with those 3 units being routed there by all those enemy troops. Okay, so here you can see that there's an amok chariot there. Can you see that Pontus amok chariot? Now, unfortunately for them, it's run amok kind of in amongst their troops. So it will be causing casualties to the enemy troops there, their own chariot. But I haven't seen it run into any big mass of their infantry yet, because that's where it causes the casualties. Not so much on one unit that's open order, like that Macedonian unit is there in open order. The chariots are probably running through a lot of those pikemen there, not causing that many casualties. But if it runs into a big mass of enemy troops, it would cause a lot of damage. Right over here you can see that Fesen just did a lightning attack with his cavalry into the Pontus pike units there. Must have saw a chance with their pikes up to hit them in the rear or something like that. So that was a nice lightning hit there by Royer there, sorry, Fesen there with his experimental Scythian army there. So That was a nice, as I say, it's nice to see a lightning hit like that. But you can see the enemy here is starting to form up a little bit, decided on where they're going to finally form up. But you'll see that both Aurealius and myself are still slowly moving around to the right. Here you can see the Egyptian spearman of Royer there. He needs to avoid that amok Pontus chariot if he can. Doesn't want to get anywhere near that. That will cause him a lot of casualties there, if that gets anywhere near him. Okay, so over here, you'll see that Royer's got his chariots there, and once again, he's going to have to avoid that amok Pontus chariot there, because, make no mistake, that will kill some of his chariots if it gets close. It wouldn't surprise me if Royer backed his chariots off away from that amok chariot if it gets too close. Now over here you'll see that Fesen is taking some of his axemen forward towards the Pontus pikes, and there you are. Can you see that Barclayman started to move forward here? And I was just thinking to say, if Barclayman decides to run forward with that Pontus army, those Scythian axemen, I hope, will withdraw quickly. That's what I'm hoping there. We just have to watch that particular part there. Okay, you can see the headhunting maidens in behind the infantry of Scythia there. Okay, so here, just to give you a heads up on this, Aurealius and myself are slowly moving round the right of the our right flank here, round the enemy. Okay, now there's a tactical and strategic reason for that, and that is because we're going to try and get up onto the higher ground. Okay, both Aurealius and myself here slowly moving around this flank, and as I say, what we'd like to do is get up onto this higher ground, and then we will be fighting downhill all the pikes and spears of the enemy team. Okay, so that's just to give you a heads up on that. We're just moving around slowly at the moment, trying not to give the enemy too much notice of what we're doing. But as I say here, I got a feeling that Barclayman may well run his Pontus pikes forward here towards the Scythian axemen, and Fesen better be quick and move his axemen away from the threat of those Pontus pikes there. Let's just see if Fesen, yeah, there you are. I think Fesen was expecting that, and he's moved his axemen back there, and now I'm guessing that Barclayman will move back with his Pontus pikes there. Okay, you'll see I move my Spartans forward there to support the Scythians there, but also maybe to draw some more troops over in this direction here, hopefully allowing us to maybe, if we're quick now, rush up onto the higher part of that hill before the enemy can react. Just maybe a thought there. But as I say, that's where Aurealius and myself are heading for, up on that higher ground, as I showed you earlier, as trying to get a tactical ground advantage. Now you might find here that Royer moves his spearmen forward here to try and get the enemy's attention on this flank, while Aurealius and myself move up round onto the higher flank with our Spartan armies. Okay, just to give you a heads up on that. But can you see that Iberus Touro there? I think he's getting the feeling that that's where we're heading. And if you notice here how he's moving his Carthage army a little bit further up the hill, here you can see that Vicox has set 2 Macedonian pike walls up there to counter any charge from the Egyptian chariots. Okay, so that's a nice move there by Vicox there, and that will of course be a complete wall there to the Egyptian chariots there, even if Royer was thinking of using them anywhere. Okay, over here you'll see that there you are. Can you see that those 2 Thracian mercenary units of the Pontus general there has moved forward to attack the heavy peltasts, and those Thracian mercenaries there have beaten the heavy peltasts, and as you can see, have routed them. And it wouldn't surprise me if the peltasts now go back into the Pontus pikes before those Scythian axemen can get to them. That was a nice lightning hit there by Barclayman with those Thracian mercenaries there. So as I say, you can see the enemy have set up their positions there, and you know that our tactics here are to move round to the right to try and get onto the higher ground. We'll see if the enemy will try and stop us from doing that. Okay, at this stage of the battle, you'll see that Royer is engaging some of the Macedonian pikes there with his Egyptian troops. I think what he's trying to do here is to try and draw enemy troops over to this particular flank. As I say, you can see he's being very, very aggressive with his well upgraded Egyptian Pharaoh guardsmen there. And as I say, I think what he's trying to do here is to try and draw, because he knows obviously what the team tactic is here, to try and get the two Spartan armies on the higher ground. So what he's trying to do here is to try and draw as many enemy troops over towards his Egyptian troops here, so that there's less to defend the hill for when we get up there. But you'll see that that's a pretty good tactic by Royer there. But you'll see both Aurealius and myself now are starting the run up to the higher ground. Okay, so you'll see that. Now it'd be interesting to see how quickly the enemy are going to react, because obviously there's going to be some units down there fighting the Egyptian troops of Royer as we try and move up onto the higher ground. You see the Scythian, there are some Scythian troops there have been brought in as well. But as I say, what I think both what Fesen and Royer are trying to do here is to, as I say, draw as many enemy troops over to this part of the battlefield as they can, and then hopefully there'll be less to defend the hill as Aurealius and myself try and run up there as fast as we can. This is a nice hit here by the Scythians of Fesen there, coming in behind the cavalry and hammer and anvil attack. But here, as I say, you can see Aurealius is doing really well, racing to get up onto that higher ground before he's blocked by the Macedonians. But you can see that Touro here has spotted what we're doing, and he's moving his Carthaginian army up there as well. And you'll see the Gaul army running up there. So Aurealius and myself are trying to get up there as fast as we can here. And it'll be interesting to see what the Pontus general's going to do. It wouldn't surprise me if Pontus here moved towards our Egyptian ally there, but although no, he's moving up towards the hill, as well as the Macedonian troops are as well. Okay, but as I say, Royer and Fesen here trying to attract as many enemy troops as they can over to this left flank, while Aurealius and myself get up onto the higher ground. Right, here you'll see that you've got those Thracian mercenaries of Pontus. They're a Barclayman there, okay? And if you notice, they've got those curved swords there, which can be very effective in fighting. And you'll see the headhunting maidens are attacking them. Now remember that the headhunting maidens have got those effective against armor axes. Okay, you see the effective against armor axes, but look at the troops they're fighting. No armor. Okay, so those axes haven't got any bonus at all against these Thracian mercenaries, because the mercenaries are not wearing any armor for those effective against armor bonuses to come into place. So those are just axes there now, no bonus at all fighting the Thracian mercenaries. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. As I say here, the Egyptian Pharaoh guards are doing quite well against the Macedonians. There's the cavalry charging again, like a bang, as he smashes in there. He's now going to go into the rear of those Macedonian pikes, like a bang, as he smashes in there. Remember, those headhunting maidens have got a 7 charge bonus, which is pretty high there as they charge in there. You can see, as I say, the Egyptian spearmen there fighting well. You can see the Pontus army now, as we thought they might do, are now coming over towards our Egyptian ally. You've got the Scythian axemen there that could well be brought into the battle there. And over here, as I say, Aurealius has done really well to get up onto that higher ground there. Just need to take out those Macedonian pike units if he can. You can see I'm running up there as well. So you can see that we're both trying to get up onto that higher ground. So remember, this was our initial tactic here, to make the most of the ground. Tactical ground movement there, and we have now got up onto the higher part of that hill. So now hopefully if we move forward just a little bit, we will have the downhill advantage with Spartans. Downhill advantage with Spartans. I mean, that's pretty good, isn't it? You can see now if we start advancing forward now, we could now make the most of the downhill advantage that we would have. So that's pretty good. We've got into a good position there with all the downhill advantages that we will now be able to get with our Spartan armies. So, but you can see, as I say, remember that Touro's Carthaginians there are very well upgraded. I think he's got 8 upgrades on, 2 experience stripes, gold shield, gold attack on most of those Carthaginians there. So that's quite a formidable force for us to fight. Plus you've got all the numbers of the Macedonian pikes there as well. Remember, Vicox went for quantity over quality, so he's got a lot of numbers there that he can bring into the fray. Okay, so here I think this part of the battlefield is going to be key, because if they smash through that one unit there, okay, if those units manage to smash through that, they will be above us and then can come in behind us. Can you see what I mean? If they push through there, they would have the downhill bonus into the rear of our troops. So we need to be careful there. You can see these 2 rallied Pale Tests, 3 rallied Pale Test units there, attacking possibly the flank of those Macedonians there, okay, with their long pikes. But look, if they try coming around the flank, they will be fighting uphill. But Vicox is a very experienced general. It wouldn't surprise me if he didn't try attacking from the flank, but he came in behind us with those Macedonian pikes. So we just have to wait and see what he's going to do there. But you can see we're now really pushing forward into the enemy troops there, okay, and trying to make the most of the downhill advantage that we've got at this time. But you can see there Touro moving forward with his Carthaginians. He's attacking us. The Macedonians and the Gaul army are attacking as well. Okay, and as I say here, look at this hit. Bang! Now Fesen's doing this for a reason. Look, you can see the rear of the Pontus general, and he's smashing into the rear of that Pontus general there on the off chance he might be able to kill that general. And I think he did. Great hit there by Fesen. Routed that Pontus general. Now he just needs to pull his cavalry back. Needs to pull his cavalry back now before those pikes can turn on him, and you've got a couple of Gaul infantry as well. But he's done really well. Remember, Pontus morale's not very good, so to take the general morale bonus away lowers their morale even more. So that was a really good hit there by Fesen. An opportunist targeted hit there. Surgical hit, I would suggest. You can see here that Royer's put his chariots near the battle there. See, frightened by chariots. Okay, so that's taking the morale away from the enemy troops. Okay, but as I say here, both Aurealius and myself are fighting downhill into the enemy troops there the best we can. But as I say, it wouldn't surprise me if the Macedonian general tried to get some pike units in behind us here, as he's got, as I say, quantity over quality with his pikes. Okay, now over here you'll see some Gaulish troops as well as Pontus troops there trying to hold up Fesen and Royer's troops there. You can see another hit there by Fesen's cavalry charged in there again. He might have seen that the Pontus pikes were up, and he thought he'd just try a lightning hit and charge in there. But he needs to pull his cavalry back, because otherwise he's going to lose a load of his cavalry there. He's charging another unit in like a bang. But against those well upgraded anti-cavalry pikes, plus you've got Gaul infantry in there as well, and I know that they will be well upgraded as well there. So Fesen here could lose a lot of his cavalry, okay, against those Pontus, well upgraded Pontus and well upgraded Gaul troops there. The axemen there, Scythian axemen may well be brought in, but as I say here, now this is what we thought Vicox would do. He's brought a couple of his Macedonian pike units, 3 of them actually, in behind us. So he's come round the flank. He hasn't tried fighting uphill as such. He's come round behind us, so now he can charge those pikes into the rear. So not only will we be fighting a massive force in front of us, we're going to have to turn to try and face the threat coming in behind us as well. And as I say, this part of the battlefield here, watch that very closely, because I think the enemy's going to try and push through there, and it wouldn't surprise me if those Macedonian pikes came in behind those troops. As I say, you can see that we're making inroads into their armies. Like you can see a bit of a salient forming there as we're moving in against the enemy troops, but there's so many of them. That is our problem there. There are just so many enemy troops there. Right, so these Macedonian troops now, look, they've got in behind us. As I say, once again, nice move there by Vicox. Straight in behind us there. and charging into the rear. So now we've got to try and fight in 2 directions now. So as I say, nice move there by Vicox. And just look at the number of enemy troops that we're fighting there. All those well upgraded Gaul and all those well upgraded Carthage troops there we're fighting as well. And as I say, we've got the Macedonian pike units in behind us there as well. So as I say, Aurealius and myself seem to be doing okay at the moment, but there's a cavalry unit of Aurealius there smashing the gun, bang, as he smashes into that Macedonian unit. Right, okay, so Fesen's just lost his general there, and sadly I think Aurealius, his general, has just been routed, and this is what I was worried about here. The enemy troops now have forced their way through in a crucial part of the battlefield, because if you notice now, they've got the higher ground. Okay, you see that they have now got the higher ground to come in behind us, and they will be fighting downhill into our troops. So by not securing that part of the battlefield there, that could mean major problems for us. Okay, and as I say, the Pontus pikes here are all fresh. Look, they're all fresh, ready to be brought into the battle. Right, you can see that Fesen has now brought his Scythian axemen in, and you can see that the Egyptian spearmen there are attacking the enemy troops. I think that was Fesen, sorry, I think that was Aurealius' general just been killed there. But as I say, you can see a lot of enemy troops there moving up towards us on this particular part of the hill. Right, okay, so as I say here, you can see that we are making inroads into the enemy troops. You can see that there is a small salient being formed there. But as I say, this is a crucial part of the battlefield that the enemy could start fighting through and coming down in behind us. Okay, we've routed most of those Macedonian units that got in behind us. So we need to start churning units up to that higher part of the battlefield there. Right, here's Royer's chariots. Okay. Now, when I watched the replay of this battle, and I remember thinking actually in the battle myself, I was just thinking, imagine if Royer got all 4 of those chariot units, okay, and he doesn't need to leave them there, and move them, say, round to this area here, all 4 chariots, and then smash into the back of those engaged enemy troops. You see what I mean? So we would have a hammer and anvil attack. So there's Aurealius and my Spartans, right, being the anvil, fighting and holding those troops. And if Royer got his chariots round there and then charged up into the rear of the enemy troops, we could have a mass rout. I don't know if you would agree with that, but if those Egyptian chariots there, it would be a classic hammer and anvil attack. I just wonder what all of you think about that. But as I say here, I've got my general unit that I was holding back in reserve. That's some Macedonian generals just been killed, so that's good news for us. As I say, I've got my Spartan general, and there's a unit of Aurealius's now. We need to move to the right and try and plug that breach where they got in between us and the hill there. That's a very serious situation for us. You can see a couple of my units there attacking the flank of those Gaulish troops there, trying to roll them up a little bit. Here you can see chariots coming in there, Royer's chariots, and there you can see the light cavalry of Aurealius charging in there as well, like a bang as they smash in there. That's good news. That's good news for us. The Carthage general has just been taken out, so that's good news. But those Carthaginian units are so well upgraded, I'm not sure if that's going to make that big a difference there. So you can see the light cavalry and the chariots charging into those those units that have breached our line there. Okay, if you notice here, I'm bringing my general unit up there to try and plug that gap of where the enemy are coming in there. And you can see that Barclayman here with his fresh units, you can see over here he's got some units there holding up the Egyptian spearmen there. Okay, you can see a heck of a lot of those headhunting maidens cavalry dead there where they charged into those Gaul and Pontus pike units there. But if you notice here, this is a battle winning move, I think, by Barclayman here. His units are fresh and basically intact, and if you notice there, he's just moving them casually up behind us here. As I say, his units are fresh, basically intact, and he can now start attacking the rear of our troops. Okay, now remember, our troops will be probably tired, they will be battle depleted, and with those fresh Pontus pikes coming in behind us, as I say, that could be a very crucial part of the battle there that Barclayman is just doing there. Right, you can see there that we've routed a lot of the elite, well upgraded Carthaginian units there, so pleased about that. But as I say here, the cavalry and chariots that were sent in against them, a lot of them have been routed there. And we're just trying to, as I say, still fighting downhill here. Routing there, you won't see a lot of Macedonian units and Gaul units there that we've routed. But those fresh Pontus pikes, and basically intact units, could be a real problem for us there. And they will be coming downhill into the rear of us. Nice move here by TR's Gaul. A general there, keeping him out of the fighting, but close enough to be given a morale bonus. He'll be blowing his rallying bugle there to give extra morale to the enemy troops. But as I say, those Pontus pikes there of Barclayman there, fresh, basically fully intact, coming in to attack our tired, battle-damaged troops. And look, if we turn to face them, we're going to be fighting uphill. And don't forget that we looked at the length of those Pontus pikes earlier, and that our men have got to try and fight all the way down those pikes to kill the man on the other end. And as I say, with our units being battle damaged and tired, we're now being attacked from two directions. Look now, you've got enemy troops coming up there. I think that's my general in danger of being taken out there. And so you'll see now that we are fighting uphill ourselves now against, let's say, right, I think that's my general's just been taken out. So we've now lost both Aurealius's and my general morale bonus here. And as I say, those Pontus pikes there now fighting, coming into the fray just at the right time. It struck me that Barclayman was just waiting, letting his pikes get fresh there, and then he just brought them in at the right time. You can see here that Royer has brought his Egyptian Pharaoh guardsmen, spearmen up here as well. But I've just got a feeling that our troops are so tired, so battle depleted, that there could possibly be a mass rout of our Spartans there. Just look at those mass pikes of Pontus moving in on us there, slowly but steadily killing our men, lowering the morale of our troops there. And as I say, it wouldn't surprise me if those Spartans of ours mass routed at this stage of the battle. There you can see a lot of our troops there. You can see more enemy troops moving in on us there, both Carthaginian and Macedonian there, moving downhill onto our Spartans there. We made some good inroads into the enemy troops there, but now you can see that both Aurealius and there you are, that's all of both of our armies now have been routed. So well done to the enemy team there. As I say, Aurealius and myself did what we wanted to. That's the Egyptian general just been taken out. Aurealius and myself did what the team battle plan was, to get up on top of that higher ground, but we just couldn't do what we wanted to there. You can see Royer throwing his chariots in there in a final attack, but of course he was going in against Pontus pikes there, and they all got taken out. So I'd just like to say, really well done to the enemy team there. I thought they played really well. And as I say, our team battle plan didn't quite work out as good as we hoped it would do. Just have a look at the kill areas here. You can see a lot of pike units there. Looks like a lot of Macedonian pike units there fighting those Egyptian guards were taken out. And remember that Fesen was getting his cavalry in behind the enemy troops there. This is where Fesen lost a heck of a lot of his headhunting maidens there, charged them into the Pontus pikes and the Gaul, upgraded Gaul army there. You can see some more Scythian axemen dead. And as we move up onto the higher ground here, you can start to see real piles of dead there, where Aurealius and myself were trying to do as much as we could against the enemy troops. But that breakthrough up here by the enemy troops, that I think that's what we should have safeguarded that area a bit better than what we did, I think, and that's where they broke through. And as I say, it was a nice battle-winning move, I think, by the Pontus general Barclayman there, getting his fresh, basically fully intact pike units in behind us there. But you can see the dead red-cloaked Spartans there on the higher ground. As I say, initially the team battle plan worked with Aurealius and myself getting up onto that higher ground, but we were just up against so many well-upgraded enemy troops there. and the quantity of the Macedonian pikes as well, the numbers there. So just once again, just to say, really well played to everybody in the game there. I thought everybody played well, and it was an average defeat. I thought it might have been close, but I suppose looking at all the enemy troops that were left, average would be a fair amount, fair ending there. And the highest kills in the game unusually goes to myself there. Managed to get over 2,000 kills. I think getting over 2,000 kills is still quite special, even in 2025, so I'm very happy with that. Another thing I'd like to show you as well, if you notice, I've got the smallest army by far on the battlefield there. Smallest army by far, and still managed to get the highest kills. So I'm really pleased with the performance of that army there. It did pretty good there. So, and I've only got 66 men left remaining, so you can see the Spartans fought down to the last men there. So let's say well done to Vicox there with his quantity over quality army. Got over 1,000 kills, so really well played to him. Well done to Barclayman. Third highest kills in the game with his Pontus pikes there and his chariots. So really well done to Barclayman. Well done to Aurealius Touro. Now he'll be disappointed with his well upgraded Carthage army. Got less than 1,000 kills, but I think he still played well. And well done to Gaul there. TR's faction of choice, got over 1,000 kills. So really well played, guys. A well-deserved victory there. Well done to Aurealius. Great kills there with his Spartan armies. Greeks' army did really well. Well done to Royer, got over 1,000 kills as well with his faction of choice, Egypt. And well done to Fesen. Now remember, that was an experimental Scythian army. He'll be disappointed he got less than 1,000 kills, but he was very, very aggressive with his troops, wasn't he? So well done to him. Now what about faction advantage here? Please put your thoughts in the comments about this. So we've got 2 Greek cities, Egypt and Scythia. Do you think that's quite a strong combination there? Yeah, and then they've got a Macedon, Pontus, Carthage and Gaul. So do you think that there's any faction advantage there? Anyway, I'd just like to say, I hope you enjoyed this battle. Please leave your thoughts in the comments there. And just to say that we got the first and second highest kills. Okay, we got the first and second highest kills and still lost, which is, I would suggest, unusual. And that's another reason I want to show this battle, because it was unusual. And just to say, we play Rome Total War every Friday, Saturday and Sunday night. If you'd like to join us, please join us. It'd be great to see you. Hope you enjoyed this battle. Please leave your thoughts in the comments. I like reading what you think about our battles. Look forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now.